This is the sound, the rhythm of your heartbeat. This beat signals life. This beat is what pumps life into your body. It is also what sustains your life. Your heart is one of the most vital organs in your body, and it is there to make sure that your body continues to function. And just like that, on our spiritual journey, the heart is a vital unit of our spiritual journey. You must protect your heart because everything you do flows from your heart. Welcome to the Produce on Purpose podcast. I am your host, Randy Atkins Jr., author, teacher, preacher, speaker, and lifelong learner. Listen to your heart. That is what we are going to discuss today and explore is listening to our heart, which is something completely different than listening to our heads. So let's go and let's explore this today. Here's the dad joke for the week. To be a good musician, you have to have a good heart. That way, you always have the beat. Share that with someone this week so that they can get a good laugh. Let's jump into this lesson about our heart. This is the sound, the rhythm of your heartbeat. This beat signals life. This beat is what pumps life into your body. It is also what sustains your life. Your heart is one of the most vital organs in your body, and it is there to make sure that your body continues to function. And just like that, on our spiritual journey, the heart is a vital unit of our spiritual journey. You must protect your heart because everything you do flows from your heart. This is what determines the course of your life. That's coming from Proverbs 4:23. The question is, are you listening to your heart? Can you feel the beat? Can you feel the rhythm? This episode is about our heart. And initially, I'm going to encourage you to tune in to your heart. This may be a little more difficult than what you have ever experienced or you have tried before, especially for those who are used to planning, those who are used to knowing everything ahead of time. Listening to your heart takes faith. It's going to take some time for you to really understand that you may not know the entire path that's ahead. But now that we've talked about in previous episodes connecting to our source, who is God, we've talked about having a heavenly vision. Now you have to start understanding, how do I live on a day-to-day basis? When I was younger, I figured out how to tune into a radio station. I lived in Goose Creek, South Carolina, but the radio station was about 100 miles away in Columbia, South Carolina. And one of the things that I found is during that time we had the tuners and a knob. And if I would tune in to the knob just right, then I would get a signal from that radio station that was 100 miles away. And boy, did they play good music. I enjoyed the music they played because it was different than the music that may have been local, but I could tune into it. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is that our hearts, because the issues of life flow out of our hearts, as it talks about in Proverbs, is our heart is a place where we need to tune into. I believe in our heart is where God is really speaking to us. In fact, there's scripture that tells us that out of the heart, our mouth also speaks. And so when we begin to talk about aligning in our hearts, then we're going to begin aligning with God in a way that our station that we're tuning into is going to be a station that is full of the love and the peace and the joy and the unity that comes directly from our source and our creator. But just like radio stations, we can tune into other stations. Some other stations could be playing evil thoughts or adultery or sexual immorality or theft or lying or slander. Those are things that could be playing within our hearts. However, what I'm going to talk about today are ways for us to tune in to the melodies, to the rhythm, to the harmony of our Creator. And this is in your control. I'm telling you that you have your hand on the knob to listen to your heart. Some of the tunes that I would encourage you to think about come from 1 John 4:16, which says God is love. Proverbs 3 and 5 that says trust in God. 1 John 4 and 16 says stay in love. Same thing in 1 John 4:16, it says God stays in you. Delight in love. Proverbs 37 and 4. In Proverbs 37 and 4, it says God will give you the desires of your heart. But we have to tune into a good station. I encourage you that if you're ready to tune into your heart, then the first step in tuning in is surrendering all guilt, all shame, and all fear. Surrender it all. Remember that if you give it all to God, just like David did in Psalms 51, create in me a clean heart, renew a right spirit within me, then we can get to a place where our heart is giving us tunes that harmonize with who we are and who we're supposed to be. So surrender all of it so that you can tune in and you'll be in alignment with what God is wanting to do in your life. Can you feel the rhythm? Can you feel that heartbeat? This is the heart that I'm talking about in your spiritual journey, where God is speaking to you and wanting you to be able to just tune in to love. That's our first point. Our second point, where do we start? We make a commitment. And that commitment is saying that I want to be in relationship with my creator. I want to be a producer that is co producing with the creator. This mini movies that I've been creating in my life, I'm no longer going to put it in someone else's hands. But what I want to do is I want to listen to the heart that God has given me, one that is full of love, joy, peace, and excitement. One of the things I want you to think about when it comes to commitment, which is different than probably most of the world is thinking about, as I've been in corporate consulting in the corporate world, typically we have contracts. And when you go into a contract, it is very wise in the business world to, first of all, think of all of the loopholes of how you can exit the contract if the contract doesn't go right. That is one of the business rules 101 or contracting 101. What are the ways you can get out of the contract if things don't go right? What I'm saying is that those commitments are going to be temporary at best. And these aren't the commitments you want in your life. The commitment that you want to make, to really make a change, to become the real you, is going to be a commitment that lasts longer. And the commitment that I'm sharing with you is don't look for loopholes to get out. Find the way that you can make sure that your commitment sticks. And so this is going to apply to your life, your relationships, your wealth, your health, every part of your life. What can you commit to? What can you stop seeing ways that you can get out and find ways that you can remain but become better. In Matthew 22, it says that love the Lord your God with all your heart. This is one of the greatest commandments that Jesus gave. When we're able to commit in love with our entire heart, we can see that it's more than our emotions and how we feel at a particular moment. Commitment is a choice that you make, that you decide, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have the best in life. I have to tell you, your intentions are the most important pieces of making a commitment. Intentions are meant to provide direction, but an intention without a commitment, it goes nowhere. And I want you to make a choice to be committed and dive in to your heart. You're going to walk on these instructions on a daily basis, that you're going to listen for what your creator is telling you to do. And as you listen, you're going to commit to writing everything down that your creator tells you. And through prayer, you know that there is going to be a greater awareness. That's our second point. Here's our third point. Our heart is where we should be led by, not our head and our thinking. Without your heart and your body, you are dead. You can be brain dead as long as your heart is beating, you're still alive. But if your heart is not beating, you are dead. And I want you to understand this based on the heart. It becomes your moral and your spiritual center of your soul. The head, in contrast, is going to be your intellectual experience, your skills, your thinking, your analytical mind. You will always have an inclination to lead with your head instead of your heart. But what I want to do today is provide you with tools to be led by your heart. When you begin to be led by your heart, you'll see a unity that should happen with your heart and your head. You need both to live in this world. But when you can harmonize your heart and your head, then you have this unity, this harmony, this love that continues to be there. My daughter, youngest daughter, she loves to bake cookies, but she takes a different approach than I do. She really puts in her heart into cooking and baking her cookies. I've tried to replicate her approach, and I'm not able to do it. I use the same recipes, the same timing, but the difference that I have found as I've observed her is she fully enjoys the entire experience. I'm usually just trying to get to the end because I love to eat the cookies. I'm not really happy with the process because you got to warm up the oven, you got to go and put all of these ingredients together and then finally put them on a baking sheet and prepare all of this stuff. I just want to eat the cookies. And isn't that how it is in our lives a lot of times? Is that many times we are just trying to get to the end, but we are not putting our full heart into the process. And what I want to encourage you is that as we're listening to our heart, that we have to align our head and our heart in what we're doing. And one of the ways that you can continue to do that, as your heart being your moral compass and it has your emotions and your will, and part of that is that you have your heart there to help you move forward. And so you want to lead with your heart and not your head. You want to trust God and his love instead of anything else that may come up in your mind. We're always in a battle to give our hearts to God. There's a scripture in Luke 18 through 30, where we're introduced to a religious leader, wealthy religious leader. He meets Jesus and he asks Jesus a question. His question was, how do I inherit eternal life? Jesus poses a part to him and says, well, have you been following the rules and the law? And he goes, yeah, I've been doing that my entire life. I've been following the laws. I know the laws. But then Jesus said, you were missing one thing. And the one thing that he was missing is he needed to sell all of his possessions. And I'm going to encourage you to think of all of the things that you've been holding on into your life, whether it's been money, resources, people, your health, whatever it is that you've been holding on to as your possessions, that you have to be ready to give your entire heart to God and have the right intentions. God saw the intentions of that wealthy young ruler and he just gave him a choice. And the same choice is left for you and for me is no longer to be led with our head just because you are following the directions, following the law, but listen to your heart. And I'm going to encourage you. Here are some tools to begin to listen to your heart. Because if you do this, this is where you will see a change in your life. And as you become a greater producer, that you can begin to hear the music of peace in your mind. So, listening to your heart is the same as if you ever heard of yourself having a gut feeling or intuition. Here are the signs that may sound like hearing from your heart. Sometime when you hear from your heart, you may have a tension or a tightness in your body. You may also have some feelings of peace or safety or happiness. Maybe there's a flash of clarity that happens in your life. Sometimes hearing from your heart has sweaty palms that come with it. Thoughts that keep returning to you for a specific person or situation sometimes is hearing from your heart. Maybe your stomach has butterflies or some type of nausea, goosebumps, or prickling are also signs that you're hearing from your heart. So, listening to your body actually reacts when you begin to listen to your heart. And a practical way of listening to your heart is through prayer and meditation. I want you to begin to see if you can stop listening to all of the thoughts in your head and go with that gut feeling. Yeah, it's always there and you know it. You know what that gut feeling feels like. That's what you're supposed to be doing. And you will be filled with an embrace from God, a love of God that shows that you are aligning with what you're supposed to be doing. Some people say that in business that is the difference between those who are successful and not successful because they can make the decisions, they can make the choices that give them that gut feeling, that feeling when something is right or something is not quite right, when something's wrong. You have that in you already. And this is where I'm going to encourage you to have trust and faith in the process. Not so much just trying to get to a goal, but I want you to believe in this process that if you begin to turn and tune into love and turn and tune into your creator, that you're going to start to hear from him, not only for your vision, but you're going to get that next step and you're going to be able to hear clearly what you're supposed to do. Listening to your heart is so different than listening to your head because now I want you to be able to think about all of the things that stop you from moving forward. Write all of those things down. You've now written down how you want to be, where in your life you want to be a producer. You've written down on a consistent basis, maybe what he's providing you for a vision for your life. Now is the time. Every day, I want you to write down what your heart is telling you. It may not be the most popular areas that might not be the most popular things that you're being told to do, but I want you to trust the process. That once you tune into your creator and what he is sharing with you, that you are going to enjoy what you see. That's going to conclude this episode, listening to your heart. I encourage you to really share this message with someone. There is someone that needs to hear this, is that they have been really using their head, their experiences, their education to try to lead them, which will give you temporary successes. But I'm wanting you to have this permanent success of love, peace, joy, and happiness. And this is where you start. Listen to your heart. Tune into love. Make that commitment. And I want you to harmonize your heart and your head. And here's an exercise I want you to do. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to feel that great love coming from your creator right in your heart. And I want you to feel that energy, the love that is coming from your creator, moving into your head and to your thoughts. Because you wonder, where do these thoughts sometimes come from, good or bad? And I believe that you can also help by having some time in prayer with God and meditation, that he provides you an alignment between your heart and your head that will allow you to produce on purpose. I really enjoyed this particular episode. I really believe that this is where you start to have a breakthrough moment. I am on a journey. Hopefully, you're with me, for that you will have a spiritual awakening in your life, that there will be a revival in your soul, that you will have a new connection with your creator and with God through this process, through embracing the process of faith and what God is doing in your life. I'm looking forward to the next episode. In our next episode, we are going to discuss and talk about seek direction. Seek direction. We're going to go into talking about more about how we can get further into where we are supposed to be in being the real you and the real me. Let's be producers and let's produce on purpose. I'll see you on that next episode. I ask that you do me a favor and that you would subscribe to this podcast, that you would, whatever platform that you're on, that you will share this with your family and your friends. Also connect with me, www.randyadkinsjr.com. That's where you'll find out more about my book, more about what's going on with this podcast, and you can connect with me. Send me a message. Let me know how this is affecting you. You can also connect with me on social media. Go to www.randyadkinsjr.com, and up in the top right hand corner, there are my social media links. Feel free to jump on and let me know more about how this is affecting you. I'll see you next time and on that next episode